Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hussein Sibyl. If this is your first time here, and you're welcome to hear from Sibyl. So I'm doing this video because I saw this news on Mimi Mefo's page 2 days ago concerning the UAE government, about them deporting Africans for nothing. So I just want to talk about a few things regarding my experience in UAE and what it takes to be deported from UAE. So before the UAE government decides to arrest people, the CID actually, because those are the people in charge of crimes in UAE, before they go out arresting people, it means something must have happened for them to go out to arrest people just like that. So what happened in UAE during that period was a Nigerian housemaid, she poisoned an entire family. That is what I read from the news. She poisoned an entire family and took money from the family and fled with a Cameroonian security. So when an incident like that happens in UAE, the government, the CID, they go around arresting people. That is what happens until they find the culprit. It doesn't matter if you committed the crime or not. And this happened to a UAE local. It was a local family that the lady poisoned and took the money and fled with that guy. So when that happened, when an incident like this happens in UAE, the thing is they'll go around arresting people randomly, right? Because if it's a guy that commits a crime in UAE, they'll go around arresting all the guys. If it's a female that commits a crime, they'll go arresting the women. So that is how they do in UAE. So when this happened, it happened to a local. And when an attack on a UAE local is an attack on the entire government, is an attack on the entire population of the UAE. And this thing is because the government, they hold their citizens very high, right? They cherish their citizens. If you're a UAE citizen, whether you're working or you're not working, you have a certain amount of money that the government pays, and they always make sure their citizens, they have good jobs. If you go to the big offices, they are mostly locals there. They go to schools, good schools. They are well taken care of in hospitals. They have certain advantages. That is why you cannot just have a UAE nationality like that, because if you have a UAE nationality, those are the advantages that you get when you become a UAE national. So they cherish their citizens so much that if you hurt one of them, that is not going to look good for you. So when this happened, the CID went around arresting people. Mostly they go to this bed space. If you watch my other videos, you hear me talking about bed space in Dubai, what goes down in bed space in Dubai. So when this happens like this, they know that people who stay in bed space mostly are people who are not working, those with no papers. Because if you're in UAE, mostly if you have a job, you'll be in the company's accommodation, or you have a house of your own when the company or the people who employ you have given you the house. So when an incident like this happens, they go to the bed space arresting people, because they know most Africans, they stay at the bed space, they're sharing accommodation and stuff like that. They go arrest people, male, female. They can just go into an entire house and arrest the entire house, like those who live in Dera, in Abu Hil, actually, not Dera. Yeah, Dera and Abu Hil. That is what happens if something like this happens. The probability, those who live in Abu Hil, they can testify, because mostly they go to places like Dera, Abu Hil, and arrest people from there most of the time. I don't think a week or two can pass without the CID arresting someone from those places, Abu Hil or Dera. It happens all the time, because that is where crime is based in UAE. So they went to those houses and arrested people. Some people were working, some people were under companies, some didn't have papers and stuff like that. So the first batch of people that were deported during that incident, those without papers, because if you're there, if you're working, you should have an Emirates ID, and where you're working, you should have all those things required for you to stay in the country. There are people in UAE without those papers. So the first batch of people that got deported were the people without papers. That is what happened. And then some are saying that they had their Emirates ID, they were under companies and they see deported there. Because I know that an incident like this, if an incident like this happens in UAE, the government will deport those without papers. And if you are under a company, you will not get deported just like that, because they'll contact your company and verify and things like that, and then you go back to your home and continue your job. So some people are saying that even with their papers they still got deported. I don't know about that because I haven't spoken to any of the victims. I just saw the pictures online. So the person who gave this information to me, they did not mention that this is what happened, because some of them are saying that they went to the cell and they were asking what happened, why the CID came and took them from their homes, because they don't know what happened. Yeah, most of them didn't know that this is what happened because their information had not gone around for them to be aware. So some of them, they didn't actually know what happened before they were taking them to lock in the cells. But then the government, I know the government is not entirely just. I cannot say that it's a perfect government, but for the security in UAE, I can say UAE is one of the safest places you can ever live in, because they have high level security. The crime rate in UAE is not as high as compared to other places. It is a very, very safe place compared to other Arab countries, and compared to other countries, their safety is, you can be safe there. If you're talking about safety, UAE is one of the safest places. And to be biased, I don't think they are really biased. I think they hold their citizens very dear. If you're to talk about them holding their citizens, which is what the government is supposed to do with their citizens, if you're talking about that, yes, I'll tell you that they hold their citizens very well. They cherish them a lot, because you cannot just talk to a local or just do something to them and go free. No, the government will not take it lightly with you. That is what they do with their citizens. And then I think they also take care of the tourists who comes to their countries, because you can see some of them are wicked. Yeah, some of them are really hard to live with, some of them are really hard to cope with, but the government entirely, they always make sure the tourists in their country are safe. They always make sure of that, because I remember during the corona pandemic, the government sent out a communique saying that if you are in UAE, you lost your job, you don't have anything, and you wish to go back home, they have a flight for you to take you back to your home. And they actually paid flight for thousands of people. Thousands of people used that flight. It was a free flight taking people to their countries. Thousands of Africans came back to their homes. The government was responsible. They told them, even if you have been in a country without working, with an overstay, with fines and everything, just come, they'll cancel everything and send you back to your country. And the government actually did that. So at a certain level, I don't think UAE is all that bad as people sit and say UAE is awful. Is that you can only have an awful experience in UAE if you fall into the wrong hands. If you go to UAE and you fall into the right hands, I don't think you have an awful story to tell about that place, because I've lived there. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly in that place, and I can say for sure that if you go there and you fall into the right hands, believe me, that you have a good story to tell about UAE. It's just that people go there and they have bad experiences, which is caused by our fellow Africans. They come back and they say the wrong information, they say the wrong things about that place. But there are people there who are good, there are people there who are considerate, there are people there who take care of people. It's not just that they are bad. No, that is not true. So if you are giving out information to someone who you want to publish or you want help from them, don't just give out the wrong information. Give out the right information, so that we can know what is true and what is not true. Thank you for watching this video. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for upcoming videos, and don't forget to like this video and leave me a comment and tell me what you think about this news, and tell me your experiences about UAE or what you've heard about UAE so far. I'll be glad to read the comments in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.